Now, workers across the country have gathered in Westminster to protest against the government's proposed changes to laws governing strikes and trade unions, and in an attempt to win people round to their cause. This morning, the TUC launched a new advertising campaign, complete with a blockbuster film. Let's take a look.
I work in the Essex Fire and Rescue Service control room. The reason we've had to go on strike recently is because the management board have changed our hours, meaning family work-life balance has just really messed up staff's lives, basically. I myself, I don't want to be job share, but I've had to go to a job share position, meaning I've had to take a big pay cut. The fire service wouldn't be where it is today without us having had the right to strike. We've kept stations from closing, we've kept jobs from being lost. It is so important that people have the right to strike. Everyone should have the right to stand up and have their voice heard.
And the TUC General Secretary, as if by magic, Frances O'Grady, is with us now. Welcome back to the Daily Politics. The new advertising campaign features 3 women, a cinema worker, a firefighter and a midwife. Is there an acceptance, in your opinion, that the trade union movement needs a makeover, an image makeover?
Well, it's a reflection of reality because the majority of trade union members are women now. And in terms of the government's bill, this draconian bill attacking the principle of the very right to strike, it's women who'll be on the front line of that because women, as we've heard from the midwives, the firefighters and cinema workers, it's very often women who are on the front line of those attacks. Right,
and we'll put that to Suella Fernandez in just a moment. But you've complained that the government is stuck in a Thatcherite perception of what a trade union member is. But do you think that's generally so, that people do have a misconception about trade unions and their members?
I think there are still these old stereotypes, including about strikes, and it's why we thought it was really important to tell the stories of why people had taken that big decision, that last resort to go on strike in the first place. You know, the midwife who just wanted her 1% that she was awarded by an independent pay review body, but the government had rejected. Or those firefighters who want to keep local stations open with huge support from their local communities. Or the cinema worker fighting for a living wage. In modern Britain, this feels like a just cause.
Right. Do you think, Suella Fernandez, when you think of a typical trade union member, are you thinking of those people?
I think that the trade unions provide such a vital service in our society for industrial relations, for standing up for workers' rights and for affecting change in a positive way. So I think it's right that the right to strike is protected, but it needs to be balanced with a democratic process and with the impact on normal men and women who are trying to go about their daily lives.
But these are normal men and women.
Of course they are. But the impact of strikes sometimes is an unfair, is disproportionate. The teachers' strike, the NHS strike last summer, was actually on the basis of 19% of union workers who voted for that, who participated. So you've got a minority of people who are voting for a strike, which is affecting a large majority of people.
But not in all strikes, of course. But what do you say to that? I mean, that is the crux, isn't it? And that's what the government is saying, is that it's not balanced. There aren't enough people balloted to justify causing disruption.
Well, as the government itself admits, the majority of ballots would meet the new thresholds that it wants to introduce. But we're saying, especially in workforces that are dispersed and especially at a time, when postal balloting is seen as pretty 20th century and it's only unions that are forced to use it. If we all want to improve turnout, give us the right to vote electronically online, just as the Conservative Party has used for the selection of London mayor candidates.
Why won't you do that?
Well, I think that this is about, there are lots of measures in the trade union bill and they've gone through a reading in Parliament and there's been lots of input. What I think in terms of the mechanisms is that there needs to be a robust basis for it, and frankly, at the moment, it is not properly carried out because there is a disproportionately small number of people who are participating in these votes, and they're getting strike action.
But not in all votes. I mean, if I take you through what's in the bill, permit employers to substitute agency workers for strikers during industrial action, as well as requiring a minimum 50% turnout in all strike ballots, will impose fines on unions of up to £20,000 if their picket supervisors repeatedly fail to wear an official official armband. Is all that necessary? I mean, if you were going just for the 50% turnout in all strike ballots, I mean, I'm sure Francis O'Grady wouldn't support that either, but it's the list of other things that are going to make strikes near to impossible.
I wouldn't say that. I think those are necessary for reasons of legitimacy. And the disruption that we've seen, not only there were over 1 million working days lost through teachers' strikes over the last 5 years. How can that be justified?
But you're proposing to lift a 40-year ban, even if we meet all these new tests and thresholds, that 40-year ban on the use of agency workers to break strikes, not just because it's unfair, but because actually the public are worried about the safety and training implications of that.
But Francis,
so even if we meet all the tests you've set us, you would make that strike pointless because an employer could replace us wholesale with agency workers.
Would you agree to a higher minimum turnout if the other parts of that bill weren't there?
It's international law that says very clearly you shouldn't treat abstentions as no votes. That's the ILO standards, the labour arm of the UN. But we want to improve turnout too, because that strengthens our arm in negotiations with employers. So we're saying give us the right to vote electronically and online and in the workplace, and we know it can be independently supervised, in secret, safe and secure, as ERS, the Electoral Reform Services, have said it would be, and then we can all be happy.
Would you, I mean, if the bill goes through, would you support action, as some union leaders have said, that they will go ahead and take illegal strike action?
Look, I think the reality is that we're going to see a midwife forgetting to wear her armband fined £20,000. I think we're going to create situations where people are forced not to comply with the law. And that, to me, sounds like a bad law, a bad bill that needs rethinking, back to the drawing board, just like with tax credits.
Francis O'Grady, thank you. Now, what's in store for us this week?